Alright, this is part 2. Let's talk about socially optimal tariffs. I've got two scenarios here. Keep in mind, this isn't the traditional 3 graphs that we've been doing. This is home and this is also home. I'm going to do 2 different scenarios. We're going to do something just like we did, but we're only going to look at the home market in this case. We're not going to look at the international market or the row market. Okay? So, the question we're after with this segment is there an ideal level of a tariff? A most helpful, perhaps, level of a tariff? What we call a socially optimal tariff. And we're going to argue that yes, there is. So if we have this home market, we know that this is going to be price and autarky, which is here, that's PA, right? So let's say we wind up with a world price that is here. This is PW. Okay? And then because that limits producer surplus, producers lobby for a tariff and they get one, but home's a large country, so row producers are willing to pay for part of that tariff. So if that's true, then we have to establish, like we did last time, and I'm deliberately making this very skinny if you're following along with this at home or drawing it at home. We get a PW star, which is this amount. Okay, deliberately making that very skinny. So I'm putting that right here, PW star. That's the amount that producers in row are willing to take, and that's obviously lower. Move that out of the way. And then once we put our tariff on top of that, that becomes PW star. I'm going to use red for this. PW star plus T. We wind up here. Okay, and then that's narrow. That's P. That top one's PW star plus T. That's that top one. Okay, that's narrow. That suggests a small tariff. All right. Now we can conduct our welfare analysis, and we wind up seeing some interesting things. Okay, that box, both the top and the bottom, wind up becoming government revenue. That's tariff revenue. Okay, this piece is paid. This top piece is paid by domestic consumers, by home consumers, and this bottom piece is paid for by row producers. Alright, now here's the point. I'm going to erase that little line, and I'm going to erase that little line, and what we wind up seeing is this triangle and this triangle become dead weight loss. We've done this already, you should be familiar with this, but in the scenario that I've done here, this dead weight loss, if we did have numbers on this, we could take these areas, right, half base times height, and here we wind up seeing, if I add both of those up, whatever they are, they're small, and they are actually smaller, at least I tried to make it so, than the piece that we are taking as the home government from row producers. So from a social welfare perspective or societal welfare perspective, we're actually better off here with a tariff than we were without a tariff, right? Because in this case, this piece outweighs what we've lost. We're taking social welfare from the row producer to an extent. This small tariff gives us revenue, government revenue, that exceeds the amount we lose in deadweight loss. Alright, that's the first scenario. Let's look at a different scenario. Okay, here we have PW, PW. In this case, maybe the tariff is large, so we'll draw, that's the amount that PW star row producers would be willing to take, and then now we have to layer on top of that a relatively high tariff. Okay, this scenario, tariff's low, tariff is low, here tariff is high. Okay, that gap is deliberately bigger than that gap. Here is a tariff. The tariff is big, so I'm calling that PW star plus T. Okay, and now, and this is going to work out good the way I drew it, because this tariff is not quite prohibitive, but it's pretty close. there's not too many units being brought in from row into home. It's just that little distance right there, whatever that distance would be. If we draw dotted lines down here, we could see, okay, that distance, if you've been keeping up all along, is that distance right there is M. That's imports. Right? Now look what's happening. This is the piece that's paid by home consumers to the home government. That's tariff revenue. This is the piece that's paid by row producers to the home government. Okay? And then, once again, I'll delete these two little lines here. All of this is deadweight loss. All of this is deadweight loss. Okay, so we have a much different situation here in scenario B. In scenario B, we don't find out what we had over here. We now find that, in this case, deadweight loss, the area of these two triangles, which if we had all these numbers we could figure out, is way bigger than the piece we get from the row producer. Pretty clear graphically that these pieces add up to be more than that. So here's a scenario where a very small tariff causes the amount of tariff paid by the row producer to exceed the deadweight loss. Society's better. Home society's better here. Obviously the row society is a loser in this. Okay, but home society's better off in this because the piece that's extracted from the row producer exceeds deadweight loss. And then as the tariff gets bigger, well, that flips over and winds up becoming backwards, because here such a large tariff results in only a tiny bit being taken from row producer, and that is way overwhelmed by deadweight loss. So then that suggests there's something in the middle, something between a small tariff and a large tariff that would be the most optimal. And what is that? What is that level? Stay tuned and we'll come back to that one in just a minute.